and welcome to week 3 of our Charmed Sampler Row of the Month quilt. And we are in installment 3, and it's so easy. This one is going to be way easier than last week where we were working with Drunkard's Path. And just a little recap of what we're working on. I have a quilt called the Charmed Sampler, and it's right here, and there's several rows, and they all use charm squares. In this case, I'm using a layer cake. One layer cake will complete all of the colored patches that you need for the quilt. So that works out really fabulous. I had an old one in my stash that I'm just using for demonstration purposes. But the one behind me, this Charmed Sampler quilt, was made with a bunch of Michael Miller Cotton Couture. I love their solids. I'm constantly working with them. And so, you know, I am a fan of a rainbow. Anything with a rainbow, I love it. So, anyway, this week is so easy that pretty much all of the rest of the rows for this are pretty easy. Last week was probably the hardest row, but it's a good way to practice curved piecing. So anyway, all we're taking is our charm squares. We're cutting them in half, and we're just creating this row of strips right here. So all we have to do is cut up our squares in half and then sew them together to make one long row. So let's go ahead and do that. I've already started my row, and I have the rest that I need to finish my row. So I'm just going to go through that really quick and show you how I do it. Now that I have all of my pairs done, I'm just going to start sewing those pairs together. And what's nice about this is that we aren't going over any seams, so we don't need to press them and do that before we start going. So I'm just going to go ahead and start sewing. And now we have 2 sets of 4 done. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do that same thing. Put these together. And now we can go ahead and press. And it doesn't really matter which way we press these because, you know, we don't have to sew anything over them. Except for when we start putting our rows together, we're going to be putting our sashing on there. So there's really no easier way to do this. And now I'm just going to sew my whole row together. And that's all that we have for this month. Isn't that so easy? Now I'm just going to press that one last seam. And we are good to go, and we have our whole row done. Yay! So obviously I think the more variety you have, the better. But in this case, I'm just using this layer cake, and it didn't have a whole lot of variety, but it's still going to be this super cute, fun quilt that will be great for any lap quilt for the couch or a child's quilt. It's, you know, it's not a full twin size quilt, it's more of a lap quilt size, but perfectly fun to do every week just to get a simple project done. So thanks for joining me, and come back next week for week 4 of our Charmed Sampler. And if you have any questions, just contact me at charismascorner.com. Happy stitching!